Hello, how you doing? How you guys doing? James here. Hope you're doing well, and hope you're having a pleasant day. Hope you stay cool when this weather is coming up. Um, is It's going to be a hot one. Today, I wanted to give you a testimony about myself, and I felt compelled to tell this testimony. And the entitle called basically my struggle with lust. Um, I was out talking with a neighbor today, and we had this, we have discussions and things, what's going on, and sharing with some things that, how long that he lived here and I lived here when we lived other places. One of the things that but the conversation went on from there to talk, but what we was having it sound like a really productive conversation until the conversation talked about the women he met and what kind of thing they were doing for him intimately, sexually. And to me, the conversation, I don't know why some people feel the compelled to tell that this man is 60, he just turned 62 years old. And, it's something you figure with time and age, you figure that people have learned their lesson. I know I have learned my lesson, as far as, you know, meeting somebody is one thing, and you go through a period of time when you're in your 20s and your 30s and you sort of, quote unquote, exploring, and you have intimate relationships outside of marriage. And even though you really don't think about the consequences, it being wrong, if every pleasure seems like it's pleasure for a moment until it costs you. You get with somebody and you have a relationship, and it come to find out that a form of bringing an innocent life and a child into the picture. And it's sad that there are some people who are born out of lust, not out of their parents didn't have love for one another, at some time. And it's like majority of seem like these relationships are out of lust. With me, at the time, I wanted a girlfriend at the time, but even though I wanted to have a girlfriend, you go through a time where it's like it wouldn't last for maybe barely a year, and then you go on to the next relationship, then you go on to the next one, and even though you're intimate with somebody, instead of sticking with that one person and learn to be faithful, and you won't have to go through the mental trials and tribulations of meeting the next person that you think look good, sound good, smell good, but you don't know what's inside of them. And this is what I had to learn along the way. And for a man that's from like myself, I've come close to one story is of my life that, messing around with a neighbor. This is back in Cincinnati. And this was some years ago. And, was a woman that, like most men, we start feeling ourselves and we act out on our urges. And when the opportunity is right there, they seem very flirtatious and things like that, and it sound good. And you might have to so-called pay for a little something. And at the time, I wasn't really taking God seriously. And I almost came this close of getting hepatitis. Messing around with somebody. And this is when you have to be careful. Luckily, I don't have it because I've gone over the years getting blood work after blood work, and thank God it never ever manifested into my bloodstream. And even as simple as having oral or the other one anal, whatever, you can still get some kind of disease. It's because somebody might have a herpes course, or if they're doing something outside of traditional sex, and especially if some you don't know if this person been with somebody. Not only that, you are tied with this person, and whatever partners that was with that woman, and that person was with that man that was with that woman, and so on, and you have a link with them spiritually. You have a link, and that's why the Most High God wanted intimacy between men and women, sexual intimacy, because once it's confined in a relationship in the bedroom without partners, you become you verge as one, and you don't have to worry about it costing you money. You don't have to worry about someone playing the game, and when you have somebody that you're gonna be intimacy, and sometimes you might think it was that one person, and you go, but if you meet the next person that maybe somewhere along the line, like most people do, men and women do, they fall away because you kind of find the person wasn't really what they had in common. But if you meet the second person, keep that second person, or unless someone unfortunately passes away or something like that, keep that person, because we are in the last days, and you don't want to be caught up out there in any kind of sinful way. Now, every grown-up man and grown woman can do what they want to do, but this was one of my things. What happened, and luckily, my blood work came back good, and I was scared to death. This was about maybe almost 20-something years ago, messing with somebody. This is the second time I met a woman who I thought was cool. And some of these women I would meet a couple of them I would meet on the chat line. Back in the early 2000s, like you see those advertisements on TV, and so you would go meet somebody and see if you click over the phone, if you have somebody, you have a good conversation, see what is it going to appear when you go and meet the person, and how you're gonna click. This one young lady that I was down in Pittsburgh, and so she had a couple children and a grandbaby. She was married 2 times, divorced one husband. The second husband passed away. I would call a woman that she lives a champagne life. She's used to living a certain lifestyle. What I mean is that, fashion. And even though she was living in a 2-bedroom apartment on the side of Pittsburgh, that didn't count. And at the time, I was thinking about becoming a truck driver. And so she saw dollar signs. Because, like, hey, you a truck driver, you know how some of these women who think like that, they start thinking that, they start calculating what it'd be like if you in a relationship. But she didn't show me no respect, because just by dating her for a while, one time I went down to visit her in Pittsburgh, and come to find out, some dude, she was probably messing with some dude before me. The next day, I didn't get into it with the dude. I didn't even meet the dude. But my vehicle tire turned out to be slashed. And I had to get one of her friends to go across town and get me a tire to get put back on my vehicle. And they said, no, because I said, wait a minute, somebody don't just go around slashing tires. You know, my vehicle is from out of town. Why would someone would do something like that? So that was a lesson learned. That was one lesson. That was back in 2005. Another time, after being with somebody, being intimacy, this is the trouble that come behind mess like this, and you don't really know a person, and you you see a woman, just like most men, we see a woman because they're behind, and women know that they flaunt their behind and their body, and they know how some men fall for it, and they feel like that's what women like they do today. They will use their prettiness and their body just to get to wear a man down, the wrong type of women. So like I said, and they have a satanic mindset. And so that was one incident. The other incident, and some of these women out there were single mothers I would date. And there was some that were single mothers, because I figured maybe, a single mother, they were probably more mature, or they're ready to go to the next relationship. A lot of times, just being a single mother, guys, don't mean that some women out there don't mean that they're mature. Some don't even mature when they have children. In the case, I met a couple that had grandchildren, still had a grandchild and still wasn't mature. It was one young lady I talked to online that was in Cincinnati. I didn't have no intimacy with her, but when I talked with her, when I tried to get to spend some time with her, she always made up some excuse. But she had the bold enough to tell me that she met a guy, and I'm supposed to be, even though she's not my girlfriend, of course. But she meet this guy who she found attractive because he made so much money an hour. Coming out, the guy turned out to be a jerk because he left her in a restaurant with the bill. Yeah. But she thought she was so cute, and he used her. But but you have some women that think they're so pretty that they're gonna get over, and as soon as they think that the guy that they're trying to get over on, the nice guy they get over, but the next guy who's not so nice, they ain't gonna get over. He gonna flip the script on them. So she told me about it, and I said, hey, what happened? I said, hey, that's what you want. That's the guy you wanted. Hey, it is what it is. I try to spend time with you. You always make excuses, just to spend some time, just to get to know each other. And she still wanted me to keep me as a so-called phone friend. We'll meet on my terms, but you meet some guy that you barely even know. I've known you for like a month, and you barely let me come over, but you let this guy within a couple of days come over, who you barely even know, because you're attracted to him and whatever he said, and just because he made some good money, and he ditched you. That was one instance. I'm giving you my array of stories of what happened, and this is what happens to some men. Why some men just get to a point they just give up. In some cases, because they get burnt, like an opposite of women do. They get burnt by these women. That they said they put on this clause that they really want a good guy. They want a guy's gonna love and respect them, and then when they meet the guy that love and respect them, they do like what she did. Another case. I met a young lady one time. I think I probably mentioned this to you that when I was also staying down there in Cincinnati, she was from Lancaster. She was living at the time, and I don't know if she's still living in Lancaster, but she, we got to meet and everything, and we got to get real intimacy and thing, and it sounded like it clicked. She was a white female. She had a biracial daughter, mixed race daughter, and I didn't care about that. But the consequences was that after we go and we go back over and she gonna stay with her relatives, and maybe she's gonna introduce me as a friend or something like that. And I seen the prejudice and racism in these people, and so hopefully, but she couldn't. She can. It wasn't her fault at the time because that's where her and her daughter could stay at, but definitely wasn't too cool. And that was one of my incidents. And what can I tell you? I met another young lady one time. Took her to the movies. I understand sometimes some people don't hug or kiss on the first date. Just because you get to know each other, but they very, these women, and she was a single mom. Looking for a man, trying to be that gentleman, and all of a sudden, she don't want to get close and intimate in the car, and and one time I went to go and take her up to Cleveland with me to go meet my family, and she got upset because the kind of rental car we get into, and oh man, let me tell you, this the type of women you meet out there as a man. It's just unbelievable. Like, you're going to get upset over a rental car because we didn't have the right type of rental car. And needless to say, I cut that short off. And so this is, I'm just telling you what type of women I've met and that I tried. And sometimes, because sometimes some people don't have time to meet people on the street. And it worked with some guys. They can go up to a woman, talk to her, boom, and get the number. I just not one of them guys that were lucky even back then. And so the chat line is an easy way to get to talk with somebody, hear your voice, and see if they like you or not. So that's why I did it that way. And if you meet in a mutual place or a restaurant or whatever, they feel comfortable, because you never know who you meet on the internet or the chat line. You don't know who they are, and boy, I met some psychotic people. Boy, woo, some psychotic women, man. I'm telling you, and that's why you got to be careful where your lust will take you. And I had a couple of close calls, man, and when I was up here in Columbus, it was some years back that I met a young lady, she's Latino descent, Latina, and but she had some mental problems. And it was a situation where she was hearing voices. I didn't think much. It seemed like she was normal sometimes, but you thinking with the wrong head. You're not thinking rationality. You're not thinking, all you think is like, man, it's been a while since I've been with somebody, blah, 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 blah. But the devil can be setting you up. And that's what the devil, with this one, because this one was hearing the voice telling to unalive me in my own place. And I was like, ooh, I gotta get, I was like, because she was hearing these voices, and she kept on in her own mind thinking that I was gonna be her husband in the future, and the spirit was telling her that he's gonna be your husband, and it was like going in and out and in and out. And it was a spiritual warfare over my life. It really was. And I got rid of that woman quick out my place. And so, just because something look good, it ain't good for you. And when you meet somebody, you really gotta take your time to get to know them. But some of us men, we hard headed. And some of us don't learn the lesson. Just like my neighbor here. This guy. We got in trouble. He didn't like the way the woman. First, he was attracted to the woman, but once he You telling me all these crazy things about her personal hygiene and things like that. Then it had a big falling out. It almost involved with the management, and it was like 2 or 3 incidents. I mean, you figure that somebody that's 62 years old, hey man, kind of chill out. You got a girlfriend. It's like, why don't you just be happy with the girlfriend you have, or if you're gonna meet someone off the property. It's just crazy. And this is, but I don't know. Maybe some people feel like they can tell you their sexual stories. They're like, I don't really care, man. I really don't think about it. I kind of blow it off. Like, I just ignore it because if some people knew what I knew, it's nothing that I would even tell another man. I mean, even though we're men, but still, I mean, there's things I had to get deliverance from, and then really get deliverance from. And it, you always have that want that person, you want the opposite sex. That's normal, but sometimes you have to be wise and select the person that's going to potentially one day be your wife. And I see why it's worth settling down with one person, because you're not just thinking that it's going to be, oh, bam, thank you, ma'am, you get with a woman of the night or an escort or something like that. You're sharing that one woman with all these different partners. And even though some women ain't too clean, some people, and then there's some women don't have men wear condoms. I mean, anytime in my past, now I'm glad, thank God I'm delivered from it, but I wore a condom, man. I wore a condom, man. I mean, I went, you crazy to be out here being with somebody and you're not wearing a condom. Whether it's here in the United States or anywhere part of the world, and you want these type of men that's traveling, and you just because a person look good and say that they don't have it, you don't know what's in their blood, what is in their blood, and then you don't know what type of people. When I've learned about some women, just because we think, and there are some women are soft nature and God made them be like that, but they don't tell you that. But life don't tell you that there's some women that got some really deep issues out there. Like maybe it's from the last husband, the last boyfriend, to all the way back until maybe when she was a little girl. Now she's mad at men, and now or some man really messed her up to the point that how a woman at one time, I had that young lady that was from Corporate, Kentucky. And I think I tell you about the young lady in one of my videos where, she was a mixed race girl. She lived on her mom's side of the family, which is white. But she went through a caught heck down there. And I think her mom kind of pimp her out, so to speak. Because she would kind of told me some things. I didn't know about this until later on, towards the end of the relationship. But she wore a wig. I was telling my couple of friends about this, and I can show you the picture. And this girl was really insecure, man. She was very, very insecure. And I don't know what was wrong with her, what someone done to her, but it was something like, man, I couldn't really get closer. She didn't want to kiss me. She didn't want me to come too close to her and try to keep me on standby. And I'm like, what's going on? We've been talking for a while, and I just, I feel that if women who go through something like that, if you've been mentally abused by a man, I think that you need to get some counseling, to get some help. before you start another relationship with a man. Because it's not fair to that man that he got to walk around on eggshells because of what you've been through, until you get some healing to the point that you're able to have a significant other. But here's the picture. And she would do this the whole time. The whole time I was with her. This was some years ago. She would wear that was a wig on her head. And she would do that. The whole time she doing it. Even when she would sometimes smoke a cigarette, she would having it like this, holding her wig. And I don't know why, but that's the type of woman, even when we intimacy like boyfriend, girlfriend, she had to have the wig on while as we in the bedroom. Man, just more like this. It's like, babe, just relax. Keep your head, like, what you gotta have your hand up for? And I'm like, I didn't understand this stuff, man. It was crazy. That's what I'm telling you. You got to be careful what type of women you're dealing with. Just because you want to get your quick fix off, you got to be watching who you get your quick fix off too. Because it may sound good, but you may be traumatizing that woman. And but luckily, thank God that I come up out of that mindset. And being intimate with somebody since 2010, since the last time I was with somebody was in 2010. This is the God's honest to truth. They're like, wow. Because I come to realize that, intimacy go to a whole different level. And it was designed for relationship, set up for marriage. And really, you're not missing anything. Oh man, I was telling an old friend of mine, like, yeah, I haven't been with somebody. What? How do you do it, man? How you not be with somebody? I can't be with somebody. Oh, yes, you can. Oh, yes, you can. If you knew what was out there and you wondering why you're going through these problems, because whoever you bring into your life can bring havoc in your life. And then you wonder why physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually, something is off. And that can all center around this. I'm telling you. And it can lead into depression. So that's why it's good if you meet somebody, stick with that one person that's been through thick and thin and know the inside out. And I even say, for some men to be married, you're the blessed one. Now, I know some people are going to sound that kind of controversial, but you really are blessed in that, because not in a sexual relationship, but in other aspect of relationship with a woman. Because there's certain things, a woman's perspective, that they know that we might not know certain things as a man. And they know. And that's one thing I know. And it's a mutual understanding. That's why a man can't say that. You never hear a man say they don't need a woman and da 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 da. It's not that they don't need a woman that's going to drag them down. Too bad some women can't see men the same way. Why would you want somebody that you're trying to correct and that you're not happy with? Why are you trying to go for a guy you know is not good, but you're catering to his needs? He's not worth being that wife, faithful relationship to. Just because he can cuss loud and seem so aggressive, assertive, but he don't care nothing about you. He's not balanced. a lot of women meet some guys that are not balanced. The provider, one thing. Protector, yes. But is he balanced in every other area of life as far as decisions, have knowledge and wisdom and guidance? Some men don't have that. Some men, and particularly the ones they refer to as Pookies and Ray Rays, because they only know one thing and one thing only. But when it comes to dealing with everyday life things, the regular nice guy know how to handle every situation, how to pay bills, how to deal with certain crises, know how to talk with people. That's what type of man a woman should have. I'm that type of man that, hey, I know it don't have to resolve me threatening somebody to beat somebody up, or even if I was a 33-degree black belt and can whip an army, it doesn't. It's more than cut somebody out. It doesn't make you of a man. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy, man. And that every man has anger. Every man has a tipping point. But no matter if he sometimes he wins a war and sometimes he's gonna lose a fight, and that's just the way it is. But he's a man. But at the end of the day, it don't take away from him being a man. And you just got women out there today, they're trying to cater to a man that really see them as a like this guy just wanted sex, not a relationship. So, but this is what I've learned from. But lust almost got me in trouble. The point of it is, and I had to get deliverance from lust. And sometimes every now and then it kind of rises up every now and then, but sometimes, you have to ask God to help you with that. Because, it's a lot of temptation. You can go up and get one of the ladies overnight and take a chance. But you can take a chance on something financially and something physically. And that's something that I discipline myself. Like I said, like most people, I've been to the clubs and everything else. Ain't nothing out there. It's not, you ain't missing nothing. And it's worse now than it was ever any time I was out there hanging out there in the streets with friends. And even though I was part of my personality, I was shy, to come to asking women for the dance floor. But when the few women that I have, that's what I learned from it. That, hey, and I had to get deliverance of that mentality. I was like, if God blessed me to have another woman, that's it. I ain't got to be one of these men that go from city to city, country to country, trying to find my identity and trying to pick a wife. Because not all women, regardless of what they look like, their education, their status, whatever, they can sound real good, look real good. But until you see how everyday life, how they handle life, how they handle pressures of life, that's the testimony. And do they understand what love is? Because at the point, that's what I want. But if they're looking at you just to come up, or it's just a pass on and pass by, then it's not worth it. And I think that's why some men are at a tipping point. Either they try to go around a part of the world trying to find it, or sometimes they just give up all, because it's just like, man, look what kind of society we living in. If you're not at a perfect 10 as a man, whatever a perfect 10 to some women is, they're not going to be bothered with you. And I think with like women it weighs on their confidence, and I think it weighs on men's confidence too, in that aspect too. But at the same time, you just don't want to. Your vessel, your body is your treasure vessel. And you don't want to just give it to somebody that won't appreciate something. and whether you're a man or a woman, you know, and one thing I learned my lesson that, hey, no matter how many good-looking women is out there, and I've seen many good-looking women, it's the personality is the what I have to stick with. It's the personality of the woman. That's what it comes down to. It's not so much. It's good to have somebody attractive, but I've seen it. I've dated some few attractive women that just thought and I've dated some women that were educated and they were cuckooed in the cuckoo bird. Just be like, wow, like, and you can't. And when you one of these guys, you can't believe, like, man, this chick she's beautiful. Why is she so cuckoo? And you get and you thinking, man, but man, and to the men like that, it's like, trust me, bro, just wait until you get one that's is fully in a state of mind. And she's been. There's some women know how to cover things up. And when you sit back, the fake eyelashes, the makeup and everything, you get to see the next day you get to see the real them. The next day, the next week, the next month, the next year, if you're still with that person, you see who the real side of them at. And that's the truth. So that's what it comes down to. And I mean, like anybody, I like seeing good looking women too. But it's just like, hey, just because someone's good looking don't mean that they for you. And you don't know what kind of mindset this person have. You don't know if she's the kind of woman to set you up, to get you hurt, get you unalive off this earth. You don't know if she's there to drain your pockets. You don't know if she's the type of woman that's going to manipulate you, control you. You don't know if she has a high maintenance mentality. That all she cares is herself and only herself. But she's just using you as a come up or as a step just to get to. And then when she step and go, then some man that just because he look, smell good and make her laugh, make her swag, that maybe she was really attracted to his personality, that swaggy personality. I've dealt with one of them kind that's loud and swaggy and everything, and she leave you, and you're not loud and swaggy. You just a normal, adjusted man. And so there's a lot of us men out there like that. There's a lot of us good men out there throughout the United States are like that. But women here don't appreciate that. And so that's why I think why some men take a chance and go to another part of the world and try to find something, because they come across and there's a lot of men probably came across what I've come across, the type of women that they've been burnt, or maybe they was married to a woman like that at one time. She was manipulating, she was controlling, she talked down. You have women that talk down on men, make them feel like a boy, and that's the ultimate disrespect, ladies, to men. That's the ultimate disrespect. Me treat him like a boy. And you have some women with that kind of personality. And that's why you probably see a lot of good-looking single women online looking for a man, because guarantee you it's probably one of those issues. She's probably manipulating, she's controlling, or, she's high maintenance and things like that. It's nothing wrong with having good things and wanting the best out of life. But if it means it makes someone feel like crap, that's not you go by a way of doing it. And especially someone take you on as a future mate, from fiance to spouse. You want to make a good impression that you will love them. And a lot of women, like, and it can be some women can say it's about men, need to know what love is. Love don't just abandon. Love don't just hop up and give because you don't get what you want. It's sacrifice. And the only one that gave up the sacrifice is Jesus. And he, the Father in heaven is the ultimate love. No matter what we do on this planet, he loves us. Sometimes we don't pray to him, he's still loving us. Sometimes we not reading the word or fasting, he's still loving us. And I mean, that's in itself alone, like, wow, man. And that's a separate that's the ultimate out of the earth love than any earthly love you have. You have a earthly love for your parents, your brother, your sister, your kids, your pets, and everything else. But it ain't like a love of the Most High God. And we hope that when we meet someone that they would have an attribute and display of the Most High God. And when we're looking for a mate, that's what we really want. And I think, a lot of men have been hurt, been put to the ringer. And we see that women go through it. But when men do something, it's like no one gives a crap about our feelings. Like, oh, well, get over it, big boy. But, yeah, after a while, psychologically, it weighs on you. So this is the reason why. And so you find it through lust. So that's why men always lusting after, some men lusting after something like that, who are single. Now, you got some men and his marriages are miserable. I don't know why that they will take a chance on that, even though they have someone, at some point in time, you're gonna have intimacy with them when you're married. At some point in time. If you don't, God will show you how to be romantically. And, there's ways of that, of getting the couple together in union, in honesty, in intimacy, and as far as a couple. But I can tell you, gentlemen, lust is not the way to love. Lust is not the way to love. It's not. It's until you have a change of mind, that certain person can't come to the door until you change your mind. If you don't have a mind and work on your mind, then he can't bring somebody that can be a blessing to you in many ways. In one, that she'll be a submissive woman that understand what it's like. She won't test your manhood and be dogging you out. And, it takes some time, But it's worth the wait. I've been waiting for a long time. And of course I'm not at the peak in time, but when the time comes, when it gets me in order, that's what it is. But don't lose yourself in lust. Don't lose, because it's going to cost you. It may be a temporary fix, it may be a temporary feel, but it's going to cost you in some way. It's going to take a part out of your being. So just wait till you get that significant other. And even if you do meet that significant other, man, be glad that you have that significant other. I don't care if you gain weight, lose weight, gain, or whatever. Be glad that you have somebody, because, some of us out here kind of wish we won't admit it, but we do. Because there's some good things to have being a companion. If you found the right person. But don't let your lower half rule you. That gets you in trouble. And sometimes the enemy will send a spirit that try to get you in that vision. That, you got this woman all locked in your mind, and you making her out to something to be what you think she is, but she may not be what you think she is. She can be a manipulator, a procrastinator, and a heartless person. So to protect your heart, your wallet, when God show you somebody, take time to know the personality. Take time to know who they really are, where they come from. It's worth it. I don't care. She can be better looking. You can find 100 women better looking than your girlfriend or your wife. But what does the substance come off with? What a look don't mean nothing. And you see some people that they turn themselves into an idol. Women turn themselves into an idol when they got to put themselves on OnlyFans or something. That's women that want an idol side. They love to crave the attention, and they turn their beauty. They go out and get all these cosmetic surgeries just to fulfill their beauty. For what? When they're not comfortable with themselves. And you see that they're attractive, but they're uncomfortable with themselves. But they think they try and sell confident, and some are educated, some are very, very, well spoken, educated. Some might make good money, but just because she made good money, or maybe because she says she's educated, maybe because she got her own place, make sure she has it up here. Because once that person is out of that environment, and you with them in an intimate environment on one-on-one, and if you decide that one day, if this is a person I can share my life and live together, that's the test right there. And can she love and put up with your ways? There might be certain ways that she don't like. It might tick her off. I mean, some women are very finicky and picky about things. I mean, certain things I can understand what they're picky about, but some of them get way too picky and finicky about things. And so, don't let and whoever you select as a girlfriend, make sure she's not a manipulator, a procrastinator, a user. That she's been damaged goods. She has a substance habit, drug habit, alcohol habit, emotional habit. Make sure you don't meet those type of women. That's what. And some women can probably say the same thing about men. To make sure you don't meet that kind of person, because they're gonna drain you. But as far as a man aspect of it, they're gonna drag you down and make you depressed and make you bitter and make you angry. I've been used, and I had to learn to get over the bitterness, because it wouldn't be right for me to be bitter at the next woman that come in my life if I'm holding on to some bitterness because it's a past relationship. You gotta let that go, guys. Let it go. Not all women is the same. You have to learn the character of a woman. That's why I say it's very important. Just because somebody pretty, it don't mean nothing. Ooh. And make sure she's sound. Make sure she's mentally sound. Make sure she's mentally sound, man. If she's good looking, make sure she's cool when she's mentally sound. And I'm not saying that she gotta be perfect. Well, man, don't make her be a user. Because hey, I've been that guy that's been used, and I know what it's like. So you just gotta use caution, But don't judge all women the same, because not all women are the same, And help God get. And if you got that lustful spirit, help. Ask Him to help you get rid of that spirit, that lustful spirit. Have it maintained. So, if intimacy will be towards your wife. That urge, the horny, be towards your wife, not towards anything that's going to get you to some women in the night out there that's just going to give you a temporary pleasure, but don't have no substance. So that's my testimony. But this is what I've learned. Lust can cost you, and lust can keep you single. And if you want somebody, ask God to pray and have you get deliverance from lust. And He'll do that. And so when the intimacy time comes, you'll say that for someone that can give you reciprocate back. And you won't be some bitter, angry person. All right, then. Take care. You're blessed. Hope you like and subscribe till next time. Thank you for listening to my video. Some of you like it. That's fine. Hope like and share it. And maybe it will encourage some other men to think the same way. Find you somebody, find you the right person, settle down with, and that will be who will love you and respect you and honor you as a man. Take care. Be blessed. See you on the next video.